with you having returned into the central area of Omu, where the big kind of differences you're going to pick up. Everything is still overrun by the jungle. You can see clear signs where the jungle is still like reclaiming the actual city itself. The stone structures are just being consumed by the vines, and it takes a certain difficulty to pass through the paths that the Yuan-Ti clearly create in these places, but it is definitely not as difficult as like clearing where you all can travel like yourselves along the paths that you've been doing outside of the city. But you do very quickly pick up this circular nature to this inner city, and it again kind of confirms with that outer wall and the way I've already deleted the little prince's name from my quick notes. But your grung friend basically warned you that that little circular portion of Omu is Yuan-Ti territory. So you all are walked into this central area, kind of coming up to a large stone cylinder that kind of comes out of the earth. You can see up above it, it seems to level off where you can't see anything above, but there's signs of the garden and these plants almost hanging off just as much as they're kind of growing up this wall. But this large stone inner circle is the point where you all stop heading deeper into this central circular area part of the city, start to kind of wind around it to the east, and when you get close to where you would hear water again on the other side, they are going to kind of look towards a rectangular building to just the west of this path. And as you kind of walk inside of this building, there's going to be just a steady decline in the stonework as you'll feel a little bit of the cooling effect of going underground pretty quickly. You can almost hear the crashing, kind of thunderous sounds of the rocks around you as the very powerful effect of water is kind of evident in these massive crashes. It sounds like thunder, and a giant is just pounding on the earth around you. And it's probably only every few minutes or so, but it becomes very clear as you move underground, both feeling that coolness, constantly hearing the sound, and then the smells. You're very quickly going to pick up that iron in the air of what I think you all can start to come to terms with. These snakes have flowing blood inside of their central temple. You've walked through a few of the rooms where it hangs heaviest, but going from fresh air of the jungle and like pollen and all of these smells of life, you're heading into a place of death. And this is all going to kind of feel heavy as this is the first time you're also being able to see it. So it won't really kind of shock your senses in the same ways as you're absorbing it for your first time. And in this long tunnel, you're slowly going to walk for some time before they take you aside and into a room to your left. My apologies. I left out the sound of a great big moving door. Again, that sound of like the stone slowly grinding against stone beneath it, where there's a sense that it's smoothed out and well constructed, but it still kind of sounds like sandpaper. And this is one of those things that kind of tells you on some level this isn't something that's beautifully constructed like what dwarves do. It's not something constructed for the ages like elves might do. This is very much a kind of human construction. It's built, it serves a purpose, but it also will tarnish with time as the rest of the city is kind of fallen. But your Yuan-Ti will kind of guide you back to this area as you walk through this kind of portcullis. You're going to come to a room on your left, and as you head inside, you have at least a semblance of a small room with some kind of padding and pillows and carpets kind of strewn about, so you're not simply laying on the stone, but the Yuan-Ti are going to look to you, and as they kind of like open their arms to this location, they're kind of presenting it to you, and you'll hear, "You stay your night and take the protection of Rasni. And tomorrow we would have words with you once more." So, kind of presented with this area for you all to finish your actual evening's rest, you kind of have this immediate moment of recognizing a few different levels of you are inside of kind of a Yuan-Ti's strong house or safe house of sorts. And when that portcullis closes, you are probably also locked inside. Uh, Theoretically, you can certainly rest and have a safe night's sleep. Tomorrow, there's at least something that is going to happen that is kind of that evidence like the Yuan-Ti aren't necessarily here for your good. But what is going through everyone's minds as you are in this position? What is Taryn thinking?
I'm just thinking I'm happy to be in a safe place. Well, safer place. Not being chased by red wizards anymore.
Are you kind of making any motions to the others to almost comfort them to the same level that you're on?
No, probably not. Very much just in myself.
Gotcha. How about what's Island doing at this point?
I was kind of really interested in this portcullis. If we're locked in, we're also everybody else is locked out, but exhausted and don't think we're going to escape having a conversation tomorrow. Um, is there any sense that we could let ourselves out if we wanted to?
Roll a roll an insight check. I think you are going to find yourself in kind of that recognized position where you're perhaps not a prisoner, but you're also perhaps not a guest. So you're not necessarily thinking, I can let myself out, but almost like, what sort of repercussions might come about were I to actually kind of like flex this tense like side thought. You know what I mean? I think
Hmm.
everybody almost recognizes that if you just don't deal with it, perhaps nothing bad will happen. But if everybody has to recognize where you start to have different goals and aims, perhaps stuff will devolve.
Yeah, I'm okay with just staying put until tomorrow. How about you guys?
Yeah, that seems totally fine to me. I mean, they did warn us about the wizard, so and it's his guards. So I mean, if they wanted to kill us, I'm pretty sure they would have done it before that.
Yeah, Jarek is he's kind of uneasy. Because this is not um, the first place he'd like to be, but he also recognizes that similarly, yeah, the Yuan-Ti did kind of really warn us about the Red Wizards, and doesn't want to pretty winded after that fight, doesn't want to risk running into them again in the night. He's uneasy about what this conversation in the morning might be like, but he doesn't really see any better options. So he's he's good with kind of staying put.
Gotcha. So because this time you weren't actually brought in here blindfolded, this is the second time you all have come into this place walking in the same way. The second time you would have heard the door opening while you were outside, and you've also walked through this when you all left last time as well. So it's your third kind of time that you've experienced that portcullis. You know, or I think everybody can have a solid understanding that you've walked through that chamber to the south, that's kind of just beyond view as you rounded that corner to it's the east in this, but it would have been your left as you were walking. And then you guys have a solid sense that the prison that you were in was straight ahead when you guys were taken into that room that you're in. So right now you guys are in that little it's that 15 by 15 room, and you have a pretty solid sense that your prison that you were kept in is off to the east of you, and at some point you were taken down to the south, was towards like the temple, where the blood was the strongest, but the room that you're in has a very strong blood scent as well. So you all can enjoy a long rest here, depending on what you would like to do while you are here. Do you all have any thoughts about, are you going to leave watches through the night? Are you going to just kind of crash out and gain the rest of your sleep? What general thoughts do you all have in mind at present?
I think we're in their power, right? We're their guests. Probably can just crash out.
I feel like Jarek he'll want to um, keep watch, but again, after like the fight and the flight and everything, I feel like he'd maybe like for like the first hour, like, and partially to keep watch, partially also because he's gonna probably have trouble falling asleep. But after that, he would probably, similar to Island, just essentially crash.
How about Taryn? Have you any thoughts?
No, I mean I'm with Aiden on this one. It's probably just gonna crash.
Give me one moment to look at an item. All right. So, when everyone gets up, effectively at this point, you would be beyond your first night's sleep, or your like the normal night's sleep, and it's kind of sleeping late into the day. The fleeing from the red wizards while you were fighting, definitely taking up a little bit more of your energy, along with the actual walk back to a little bit more traditional safe, I guess even less traditional kind of safety. But returning to this location, everybody kind of crashes out and more or less will get a really solid night's sleep here at this point. Eventually, you all are going to again be brought. Let's see, actually. I think you're going to be brought into a little bit different of a location, where they are going to bring you into a room that's kind of set off as pillars. There's a large stone snake statue that's curled about itself and rises to the roof, like any of the other pillars in that room. The statue itself, though, is this massive snake that kind of even comes out from that pillar, turning it into almost a massive stalagmite, that's kind of reaching up from the ground, and the snake's head's curled around this pillar towards the top of the ceiling, almost 20 feet high, kind of looking straight down this little row, and behind it you have another almost chapel style row of pillars that just gives this very kind of grandiose feel to this underground lair. And as they walk you deeper into it, you're going to see from the actual room with the snake, there's a little room that heads off to the east. And as they bring you down into this room of pillars to the south, you are going to be joined by the same snake-like creature who first questioned you, seeming to have a male's upper body, seeming to be a little bit more human in a lot of those qualities, being kind of free to see in a little bit open light and not being blindfolded. You can see that this person is still very much like showing signs of being a snake. His actual skin seems almost dry into large scales. But as they continue to kind of question you all in relatively similar ways as before, some of his first questions are going to be, among things, reconfirming what you've already kind of shared with the other Yuan-Ti, but that you have collected some of the cubes. So his first question might be something to the extent of, "It's true that you have returned with two of the cubes."
Yeah, that's true. I'll pat my backpack. Look, they're in here. Got the cube of Nang Nang and Ubalaka.
Lord, yes. He requests that you turn them over for our safekeeping.
I'm not sure that would be wise until we have the others. We don't know if perhaps these might be needed to help tame some of the others. Um,
And with the presence of the Red Wizards, you do not fear that you might lose what is so precious to us all.
it is a danger, yes, I suppose, but so far we have held our own.
And also required from others. Return for these cubes if you need them. But at present, would it not be wise and prudent to leave some with us where there is safety? Prove your allegiance as we have proven our assistance.
You'll see like Jarek's kind of like jaw clench, little like little there'll be some tightness in his jaw. He's gonna kind of give a glance towards Taryn and Island. He, kind of it seems clear from like his body language and like the look on his face that he's not comfortable with turning them over, but he also can't. He's not really able to formulate a reason aside from kind of what he also just kind of pulled out before about like why they shouldn't. Kind of looking for a little assistance, I guess.
And I will say you certainly have proven to us, but we can't come and go as we please here. How will we retrieve them when they're needed?
You have already told Rusney that you will return when you have all of the cubes. We will enter the dunes together. And why would you not have access when you require these cubes again? What do they do for you that they cannot do here from safety?
No, we think we may need them to recover the rest. So we may need to come back to get one as the answer to another puzzle.
As you would be welcome.
Yeah, guys. If you're welcome to just stroll back and take them when we need. I don't really see a downside to this, to be completely honest. I mean, sure, we've fought off the wizard 2 times. Well, not the wizard, but a red wizard 2 times by now. But yeah, I mean, wizards are crafty. We don't really know what they have in store for us. So if they're safer here than with us, maybe we should go with that.
Mylan sort of shrugs. He's fine with that. Doesn't seem like we really have much of a choice.
And Jarek will kind of, after like a long pause, will kind of take a, kind of like take a deep breath, let it out slowly, and then kind of give a nod of acquiescence to, to Taryn's words.
I think I have the right name if I say that Hikaru it will kind of approach to you, and I think looking towards Taryn, I think you've already kind of motioned that they're both in your bag. He'll kind of move towards you and reaching out both hands, just kind of palms out, palm up, is just kind of looking towards you with kind of like a little bit of a presented bow, almost like, would you honor me by handing them over?
Yeah, I'll immediately go into my backpack and pull both of them out and just put them in his hands. Like, here you go. Keep him safe.
So I think from there, he's going to take a moment to open the door that is on that western side of the room. I am pretty sure, without looking at my map, that that is a little bit of an armory, and you'll kind of see as he puts them inside, you just see like kind of a short hallway before this larger room opens up into darkness. A little bit of light kind of going inside, kind of flicking across some different pieces of weaponry and armor. But after a few moments, he will return without the cubes, looking back behind, seal the door behind him with a little bit of a spell, and then he will look towards you all. Um, we thank your trust and generosity. If you require anything else, ask. But otherwise, when you are prepared, return to the surface.
So, having caught a glimpse of the, I guess, of the kind of what looks like it might be an armory, when Yaru takes the cubes, when she asks that question, Jarek is going to kind of like gesture to like the gouges in his studded leather. Um, say that, and he's going to let's say, if is it is it possible that you might have um something in a bit something I might be able to use in better condition than this in that room of yours, and I'll gesture towards the armory. This has suffered some damage, as you can see.
Roll a persuasion for me. Is that it already?
Yeah, that's a natural one.
Gotcha. Roll a D100 for me.
Justin, I was persuaded though by your argument.
Makes sense. I mean, Jarek clearly doesn't trust these folk, so he's probably not being too convincing.
He'll return into the room, and after just a few moments, is going to come out with two different like leather coats kind of thing, and he kind of presents them both to you. You can take a few moments to basically feel out the two differences, but for what it is worth, I think we can say you can return your studded leather to its normal form.
So Jarek will kind of nod, like after checking the materials, and he'll nod gratefully, but almost like grudgingly grateful. But he will, and then take a bit of time to kind of remove the um, what he had been wearing and replace it with this replacement.
Yeah, I imagine this is like a slightly different kind of style of chest piece, perhaps like a little bit less robust and um, kind of like almost accenting the slender nature of how, like these snakes don't have hips, so they get slender after their rib cages kind of quickly. I feel like you can kind of tell that this leather is made for the snake human torso more than simply to like a normal human body that has at least some nature to its figure. um, but it does fit into, you could basically still make something happen with your chest piece, and then like saving like the pauldrons and almost like the like kind of sleeves that would be a little bit more part of yours. So it's almost like you kind of have like, I imagine, kind of like a two-piece armor right now. The chest being a little bit different than the actual like shoulders and arms.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense.
So let's make our way out.
So when you all are prepared to go, you are basically brought back to that same area. You will have, I feel like it's just a like pull handle on the inside of the actual portcullis here, but a Yuan-Ti that looks far more human, who actually walks on legs, but has very scaly flesh, and even more so scaled kind of towards their back. You can kind of see that point of like snake-like nature to even the more humanoid ones. But this guard who kind of stands guard in that room will pull the lever that kind of releases the counterweights, and you slowly hear these doors as they descend into the walls, basically one door going to the west, one door going to the east. You watch as they kind of disappear into the wall, making a smooth-ish open doorway here. But again, it's one of those things. This is far more utility in that it doesn't block any of the way if you are bringing things in or out. But it also is not like perfectly smooth where you can't even tell there's a door there. But they will open the doors, releasing you all into what is this kind of long incline as you walk out of the actual temple. You'll have guards on you for maybe half of that before they are going to kind of just in their own common, almost snake like tongue, just kind of say something to the effect of, "This is where we will leave. You'll be proud to see your next return." And they kind of like bow their heads in unison as these two snakes are going to slowly twist their bodies as they start to head back down the incline or the decline towards those same doors, where you'll probably hear towards the end of this tunnel as the doors start to close. The actual like echo of this rumble almost is like a cacophony by the time you get to the actual end, and you can tell that it almost blends in with the sea. The way the sea crashes is a little bit more of a quick, kind of loud rumble, where this is like that slow, long rumble. But the two are very similar sounds. And you all are inside of the Yuan-Ti circle of Omu, but otherwise back in the surface heat. You can again kind of smell the jungle around you. And with that, we will kind of have you in that position where you come up from under the ground, and you all can decide how you would like to progress forward from within Omu on kind of the north side of this little central oculus.
And so, like, once they emerge, Jarek is going to kind of like turning towards Charnon Island. He's kind of been like thinking about it as they were like making their way back up, and say like, suppose if they eat all nine, then handing two over for now is not come back to bite us. At least I hope not.
Well, maybe we don't have to avoid the center of town now. We can not have to slog through the water. Do we know where our next location is, though?
No, not exactly, but we have found two on the east side. I think we suspect there was a third one up on the northeast, I would say.
Maybe we can head north and see if there's an opening in the wall, or if we have to go outside the wall. Be like 2 north, 2 south, 2 east, 2 west, and 1 in the center.
Let me get a round of perceptions from the three of you. So it doesn't take you much more than about 15 or 20 minutes to kind of walk between this little coastal area where the flooding has even consumed inside of the central area of Omu. And eventually you're going to kind of one after another spot through like the different spots where you've scouted forward. Taryn will notice first, but everybody's going to pick up very quickly that there is indeed a break in the actual wall to the north of you all, and it is almost directly north of where you came out. But assuming each of you kind of scattered a little bit one way or another, it's easiest to see not looking straight on, as there are still like growth of the jungle. But it's one of those things where you can all kind of see different ways that you can like glance through the undergrowth that's kind of like grown across that wall. So it's covered in plant life and seems like a complete wall, but you can see like this portion where, you can see water on the other side from the east. The person from the west can see one of the buildings like long behind it. Like you can see like the scale difference. So there's little clues that are kind of giving you all this vision that yes, there is a break in the wall.
Only we had a canoe.
You all walked in it at least a little bit yesterday as you moved to the north of Nang Nang's temple and made your way into at least some of those other buildings that I believe it was Island was contemplating trying to stay in one of the rooftops of. Just finding that most of those were not necessarily like defensible positions as just kind of like a water basin on top of one, almost like a what is it? I think a rookery is where you keep like birds in like a small little building, but kind of little things like that on their roofs. But you all have walked through a good chunk of this and have a solid sense that at least what you've explored isn't so much that it's a valley as it's like a few feet lower. So you've not explored all of this to see how deep it gets at any time, but you've walked like just as deep getting to Nang Nang's as it was when you went to like the next set of buildings behind it, like another few hundred feet.
Yeah, so maybe we kind of we wait in. If it gets starts getting real deep, we can kind of reassess. But
I think the reassess comes to what is Taryn's definition of real deep?
yeah, I'm thinking like definitely don't want Taryn to lead the way. Like we want him behind, so like he can kind of see. Hopefully, like if it gets up to like Jarek or Island's chest, then we know like okay, Taryn's not going to be able to. He'll have to swim, or maybe one of us like trying to carry him or something like that.
Yeah, I think you're looking at kind of there's definitely difficulty in walking through the actual water. A lot of this stuff does still have undergrowth in it. So it's like walking through water very cautiously, and every few moments you're bumping into like a log or a tree or maybe like some big stones. There's definitely a lot of obstacles that make it more difficult to walk through. I think if you all were to walk towards the actual hole in the wall as a group, you're going to find that it is approaching waist high for the humans, and I think that puts it at vaguely Terran is between the point of you could swim or you could walk, but you're pretty much at the same depth regardless of whether your feet are below you.
Yeah, so I was also wondering, like, as like if we're going to be going into the water, like if we look around for a little bit, Jarek wants to try and find like even just like something crude that we can almost maybe use as like a pole, as like to like kind of like try and like measure the depth as we're like going forward, kind of thing. Uh,
Roll a roll a survival. Yeah, you do a pretty good job of grabbing like a vine that is an old growth from maybe like a year or so ago, where it's a little bit more like stiffened as a wood instead of like a vine can almost be very like loose with all of the water in it. So you have something to the effect of a 10-foot pole right now.
yeah, mostly just to try to like doesn't want to like accident like walk off like a sudden drop off or something. So it's more to just like try to like like check the depth as he kind of walks forward.
Did we actually do the thing where one of your rings actually creates a 10-foot pole, Darren?
No, we never did that.
Was it one of your magical items, though, that you were thinking was like a collapsing 10-foot pole or something to that effect?
Yes, that it was.
Okay. I wonder if I made it as one of the leveled options of your thing. Because I feel like I gave you a 10-foot pole. So yeah, you all can kind of progress forward, at least inside of the actual circle of this stone structure. You all do a pretty solid job of effectively confirming that at any given point, this water seems to be at about like a 2.5 foot mark. I think among that, like one of the things it kind of confirms in actually, let me get an intelligence roll from everybody. Yeah, so I think Island can kind of make like a weird kind of connection with how this river that runs through Omu seems to be operating. You kind of have a sense of maybe with a little bit of background in archaeology and some of the things that you've seen, as well as just striation in the earth and the way different layers kind of display themselves. Between kind of sensing this difference in the river here to the actual walls of the cliff that are around Omu, as well as that vision of the lava in the southeastern side of Omu, there's a very big sense that there's kind of 4 different layers of a sinkhole that have kind of collapsed around this place. All of Omu sank. Some of it sank just a few feet farther, and that's this river section. And even beyond that, the lava portion sank a few hundred feet farther. So you actually, what was that? 3 levels basically. So you've got like 150 feet or so, all of Omu sank. About 2 or 3 feet that this river area sank, and then about 200 feet that the lava sank. But at this point, you can kind of confirm that maybe the way Obtoa recalled Omu was to almost like consume it, like suck it into the earth, which could also be explained then as kind of like the way the tectonics of this area have opened up um, the mouth of a large volcano.
Yeah, so Jarek will, with the pole, I guess he'll lead the way and suggest we make for that kind of opening that we spotted, and then probably see continue either on the north or maybe northwest, kind of keeping looking for what something that might look like it might be another temple.
So coming out of this area, you see 5 buildings off to the east of you. You can probably start to glimpse the first of a couple buildings that are east and towards the actual like wall of the cliff. There seems to be a large thoroughfare that opens up almost directly to the north of you, and I think at that point you all could spot the actual waterfall that you heard described in Kir Sabal as one of the potential entry points of this area.
And can we tell that that's where the thunderous sounds are coming from?
From where you're at here, I think you can still hear them, but I think part of what it is almost it's me trying to like allude to there's other like this is incredibly like cavernous earth. I feel like it's limestone that is slowly kind of consumed by water, and it turns into like the very like sinkholey like earth that like Florida is largely a part of. That's kind of what I was trying to allude to. But yeah, like you guys have a solid sense that between the waterfall and the fact that there are caverns beneath where you all are, like that's part of what this water is doing here, making these natural sounds as a part of like the water, like pressure differentials inside of those caves.
Cool.
But to the west of where you would kind of come out, there's another small group of like 4 buildings that are immediately kind of northwest of you, and kind of along the promenade, you see another building that seems to be isolated by a wall of stone, and beyond that, the buildings seem to be up on Earth. And I think that's probably about what you can see from this location here is like 2 clusters of buildings to the east, one a little bit more north, 2 clusters of buildings to the west in the water, one a little bit more north. Beyond that, what you can start to see is outside of the water and very much like covered in the jungle, like the rest of the areas that are not underwater.
So Jarek will suggest maybe heading for the building that's got the looks like it's got like the wall around it, slightly isolated. That seems like it might be a possibility.
That sound viable to you all?
Yeah, totally.
Yep, sounds viable to me.
Let me get a D20 from Jarek. So, as you all clear through this area, there's a certain level of seeing how the vines kind of are stifled in how they grow when they get underwater. But once they find stone outside of it and they come back out of the water, they become very vibrant and green again as they start to grow over things. And it kind of gives you like a sense of why there's so many like hurdles and things to come across, is that the vines of this jungle are consuming everything. They just don't reach out of the water to where they get like protrusions of growth around some of these temples. But as you all approach this temple here, from the outside, you can see that it has 2 tall pillars on the southern side of it, and probably one of them is visible. The other you kind of can't really see beneath the vines. But even so, once you kind of get a sight of like the more western one, you're able to make out kind of the same shapes in the eastern one and see that it appears to be a water bird with tall, slender legs. And it's kind of standing on a single leg with its wings not fully unfurled, but they are kind of almost partially extended out behind it, and the bird seems to be looking down towards the ground with this long, sharp beak that kind of extends towards its foot. And you kind of have at least a little confirmation that this is indeed one of the temples. The temple of. Do you all remember who the bird is?
Check my notes real quick. The Elvis.
Indeed, that is the kind of bird that you're seeing.
Oh, Shagamambi. No, that's something else. I think.
That's the snake leopard, I think. I don't know the name of the bird,
Shagamambi
though.
is the enemy of. Oh, I think that actually was a mistake because I feel like I think Shagamambi is the enemy of Ning ning.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
one of Papazotl. That's the bird.
Yeah. With that, Eku will confirm. This is Papazotl. And my second one was good, so she's going to actually recant. So when Taryn kind of brings that up, she's just going to kind of almost whisper out loud. When evening came, a wily Iblis stepped from his reed hut. He didn't like the Omawans, but without them, he'd have no one to play his tricks on. The Iblis sent a marsh frog to reason with Ubtoa, but the frog was angry and decided to wrestle the god instead. The amused Ubtoa, the This amused Ubtoa, so he gave the frog tentacles to make it stronger. When Kubazan the Froghemoth returned to Papazotl, the Eblis, he chased Papazotl into the swamp with his new tentacles. And she'll just kind of like look in wonder to a moment of seeing this temple before her. Long, slender building between these two tall like columns that lead around this stone wall. Think if you can't see anything, if you scroll towards the bottom, you all should see kind of the entrance area of the wall and just a long, slender building that extends off to the north. And you can see the stairs open up. I think this one has a open kind of front door. But what have you all in mind as you approach Papazotl's temple?
The direct approach.
Yeah, probably fairly difficult to be stealthy wading through the water. But Jarek will suggest, just keep your eyes out. Sign of the any more red wizards or their lackeys.
Yeah, keep a lookout for the flying invisible wizards.
I think Jarek would he'd still have the kind of the piece of vine out, still trying to kind of test the waters in front of him, and he would not really trying to be stealthily, but moving slowly, kind of cautiously, start moving towards the base of the stairs.
Gotcha. As you all approach, let me have a round of perceptions. Alrighty. So as you all approach forward, kind of getting to this gated area, Taryn is going to notice that there is this kind of same cuneiform scratches across the top of this entrance area to the temple, where there's a large plaque. And if you would like to take a few moments between Jarek and Eileen, you all can recognize this as Old Omawan. It will just take a few moments to translate.
Yeah, I would say we should take the time to do that.
Definitely.
So when you all move forward to do this, I need you to roll for initiative, please. Alrighty. So as we are approaching, and as you two start to move forward towards the stairs, The sword is going to reach out to your mind, Jarek, and you're just going to hear in a quick instant, look to the water. Um, for what it is worth at present, you don't see where your prey is. You could make attacks at disadvantage, or you can effectively hold your action here to wait for something to happen. But what do you have in mind as the sword tells you to look to the water?
Yeah, so as he hears this in the sword, he's going to to Island and Taryn be like, the water. And I think he's going to be kind of like, glancing around, doesn't see anything, and I think he's gonna call forth the uh arming sword shape of his blade, but he's going to kind of like be holding it, looking at the water, hoping to essentially stab the first thing that he spots or that um uh comes up out of the water.
Gotcha. Holding action to stab at the first thing to exit the water, kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. You can make that attack as one creature is going to be swimming up kind of directly from the west of you and is going to kind of reach out to smash into you with its jaw collapsing down. It should hit you there. You're going to hit it in return. As it bites down into you, you're able to stick, what is the arming sword? It's like the short sword style, kind of through the creature, piercing through its jaw, releasing a little bit of the tension, but you can tell this creature is still holding on to life, and it is going to be able to grasp down on you for 8 piercing damage, and you are grappled and restrained. That's going to go to Island.
I'm just gonna cast on that thing. Cast spiritual weapon. And he's gonna cast a cantrip, sacred flame.
So as this creature bites down into Jarek, bringing this tension on that's kind of like fills you up with all of your ability to fight it off, you are going to just as quickly feel as this entire creature's musculature goes limp, and it is going to kind of slough off of you as it slowly kind of scrapes across your arm and falls back down into the water below, seeming to be dead.
Great. I'm gonna run for the stairs. Also, and get out of the water. Be a little above. Did my spiritual weapon have nothing to attack? Can I hold an action with that?
Negative.
Okay.
At this point, everybody's attacks are happening, and then I'm describing stuff. If you want to split across things, you have to decide that ahead of time, kind of thing. So that's why I'm giving descriptions after the effect. It is your attacks that kill it. To know which one or either could have done it is kind of beyond you at this point.
Okay. That's it for me.
Another creature is going to splash from the water behind Jarek and Taryn as it grasps out towards Jarek. It is going to try to bite down on you. I believe an 18 is still a hit. Is it your AC is now at 16, Jarek?
16, yep, now with the normal studded leather, yeah.
So it is going to grasp down on you, doing kind of the same thing where you become grappled and restrained by this. The attack itself, though, is going to do 4 piercing damage to you as it bites down into you. And we will go to Taryn.
Let's see, and Terran will, seeing a giant crocodile appear in front of her, gonna take 2 stabs at it. Let's see.
Gotcha. Quick little 1-2. You definitely get 2 solid stabs into this creature. The first one going in smooth like butter. The other one, you have to work through the armor a little bit, but you are able to sink those attacks in. And I'm pretty sure you're doing 16 with the first and 2 with the second. This creature is going to be severely injured. It is probably looking pretty fatally wounded, but otherwise is still holding on to life.
Yeah, and I'll be staying right here, close to Yerk and the crocodile.
Another creature is going to swim up from behind, leaping out at Terran. This one is going to try to bite down into you and kind of miss as you glance out at the other one with your daggers. It kind of chomps down right where your arms were. And we're going to return it to Jarek.
So this Jarek is kind of like ripping his leg out of the first dead crocodile and kind of like almost starting to turn as he feels like the other one chomped down. He's going to kind of like awkwardly try to shift his weight on his one free leg, turn and stab at this second crocodile that's got him grappled.
Gotcha. You are disadvantaged for being restrained.
Right. Okay.
The first one's going to be a miss. Your second attack is a solid connection. And that's effectively your turn there.
Yep, unless I can if it killed it and am I no longer restrained, I would move over next to Taryn, otherwise that's it.
Yeah, that'll be kind of the gray area. Yeah, so like as you do strike down into this creature, you're able to shed its weight from you. And you can definitely take that movement. My apologies. That's definitely kind of a gray area of I'm not really sure where like proccing the extra attack skill action surge might fall into that idea. It's kind of a weird way to think of it. But yeah, I kind of feel like the actual back and forth way to talk about that's the correct solution. So at present, then, we will go to Island. You have one more of these crocodiles kind of beyond your view that Jarek and Taryn are kind of closed in on. You can see the splashing of it kind of biting out into Taryn and effectively missing, so you can see both of your friends are fine. But what would Island like to do?
Which one is up? The one to the left or the right?
To the right.
Okay, I'm going to take a step to my right. And I'm going to fire off a Cantrip.
Bringing down the redeeming light of Saloon, and it seems to flash down into this creature, but seems to have no effect.
I'm gonna send my spiritual weapon over there.
Spiritual weapon has a solid connection with it as it swings out. And anything else from your turn?
Nope, that's it for me.
And that'll take us to Terran. This creature does not have you. It's just kind of attacking at you right now. It's just a bunch of splashing water. What would you like to do?
Well, I would like to attack it. Do not like being splashed at. Let's see.
Solid hit with the first of the attacks. Your second is going to fail to get through any of its flesh. And with that, you will be able to bring this crocodile low as the dagger kind of inserts in. You two can feel this like relaxing of the unified musculature of these great creatures, and it too will kind of slow and seem to die in the water. Any thoughts what you guys are doing with the immediate moment as you clean up these gators or these crocodiles and they all kind of fall to the wayside?
Oh, do we need some meat?
So as Jarek feels like the second kind of jaw start to like kind of relax, kind of like tests like pulling his leg free, he's able to move. He's gonna try and move, make it for the stairs as well.
Gotcha. And what's Taryn doing?
Oh, I'm gonna follow Jarek. So I'm not staying out here alone in the water.
Gotcha. So as Jarek kind of returns to this area, all right, hold up here, because this is going to be how it actually happens. Theoretically, assuming that Terran's making this decision on his own, because you guys are still in initiative for a reason here. Terran, you can walk towards the stairs and kind of get yourself out of the water because of the gators. You don't have to do it for Jarek. Jarek is going to head past this area and kind of walk up to Aelin, and Aelin can ask you all if you would like meat. And that is when another creature is going to swoop out and decide who it would like to eat. There's going to be a massive torrent of water splashing beside you all, as with a little bit of a question from Eileen as to. Oh, wait. Yeah, from Eileen as to who the meat, if anybody would like to collect any of this as meat. There is going to be a massive creature that is going to splash up and bite down as its jaws open, almost the size of Jarek's entire torso. Island just kind of staring it down from behind. And this creature is going to the bite first. That's going to be a 19, should hit. And it will be for 28 piercing damage. This one grappled and restrained as well.
And that's Jarek.
Yep, on Jarek. And then it is going to slap Jarek as well with its tail. This one should hit as well with an 18 and do 12 more bludgeoning damage. I need you to make a strength saving throw, and I believe it will be at disadvantaged as you're grappled and restrained. Nope, it's just dex saves, so that would be. Oh yeah, it does matter. So yeah, as it kind of bites down into Jarek's torso in a very like Jaws moment, it kind of opens up its mouth, grasps down into his torso. Its tail's going to flick across and sweep out his legs, and you're just going to watch as Jarek's body just drops down into the water. And the reaction will first go to Terran as you basically watch Jarek kind of disappear from the oxygenated world behind you. What would you like to do?
I would like to basically just jump straight into where the crocodile or giant alligator thing is.
Gotcha. So you could fight from where you are and attack it. That wall is going to come into be like some sort of a problem, but effectively you can easily move. Like movement wise, the fact that it's difficult to move past them isn't going to affect your movement to get to that creature. So I don't see any reason you couldn't be pretty much anywhere you would like to be around that creature to attack it.
Get me there, then I think that's perfectly fine. And try to stab at it. To yeah, make it let go of Jarek.
So first attack is a very solid hit, dealing a total of 21 damage into this creature. The second one kind of going for the same almost like weak spot at the top of its skull where you got the other blade in. You're just going to slightly miss and come up on a very rock solid skull, and the dagger doesn't even really enter its skull in the least bit. Do you have any bonus action? No, that's your offhand. Any other movement?
No, I don't think so. I'm gonna stay right here.
So theoretically, Jarek, where are you at bloodied wise? Are you now bloodied condition wise?
Oh, I'm mortally wounded.
Okay, so yeah, Jarek is looking horrendous. It's gonna go to you. You are effectively prone on the ground. I don't even think you can stand up. You could attack at disadvantage while you're restrained, or you could try to break the grapple, which is just kind of like a strength to try to like open this jaws to free yourself. If you're able to break the grapple, you could stand up with what movement remains. But right now, you are grappled, restrained, and prone.
Yeah, so first thing is like he like that bite definitely did a number on him. He's going to kind of, as he's kind of with a gasp or kind of like a gasp, like kind of trying to like spitting up a little bit of blood. He's gonna second wind.
Good time to crit. Good time to crit.
And I think yeah, I mean, this thing is massively powerful. I think he's just going to instinctively stab out at it. even kind of prone, just trying to hit it.
Gotcha. So you can make your 2 attacks at disadvantage. Solid strikes from both of those. You've got. It's only incapacitated, so I feel like I'm right to have given Terran sneak attack before, and I definitely think you've got rogue with Jarek as well, right?
But I have disadvantage, so I wouldn't get it, but
Oh
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
Taryn
that's
would.
correct. Okay. Yeah, so you've got another 20 damage put into this. So yeah, with your location like already inside of this creature, you are entirely not lacking for weak points to place your swords, and you are definitely able to get the blade inside of this creature. Still moving, it's still looking healthy enough, but you guys are certainly cutting away at it. I believe that should be the end for Jarek's turn, and we will go to Island.
Island's gonna attack with a spiritual weapon.
And what would you like to do?
Sacred Flame.
Gotcha. So the spiritual weapon is just going to kind of glance off of the scales of this creature. And as it's kind of thrashing about, almost winging Jarek like a little rag doll, the spiritual flame is just going to come down into the splashing water. And from what you can tell, not have any effect on it.
Mara, if the 12 misses, then I think my second attack would miss because I was at disadvantage. So if you took off those 8, just add them back.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's correct. Appreciate it. I saw the 17, 16. I'm not sure why I looked at the 16, 12, and oh, normal crocodiles are 12. I probably should close down their stat block so I'm not looking at it too.
Okay, I'm going to stay planted on the stairs. It's my turn.
Alrighty. The creature is going to smash down on Jarek. With advantage, it will hit. It's going to deal another 21 piercing damage to you as it clasps down on you with its jaws. And it is going to whip its tail out at Terran, which should hit with a 21. And I need a strength saving throw from you, Terran. And it's going to do 10 bludgeoning damage to you, Terran. So as it strikes into you with with its tail, you're almost able to maintain your footing as the tail kind of drags you along the ground a little bit before just a little bit of like the stairs kind of underneath this water get up on the other side of your foot with a little bit of a resistance beyond your own strength from the other side. The tail is going to swipe through your legs as it's almost to a point of breaking the bone in your lower leg or knocking your knee out to where you fall. But Terran is going to fall prone, and this creature is going to start to swim away. Uh, Terran, you can make an attack of opportunity at disadvantage while you are prone. That one will hit, dealing another 7 damage to it. And Jarek, you are going to get dragged along as this creature is swimming away with your body. Theoretically, I think you're still fighting from within, but we are going to go back around to Terran. You are prone on the ground, and the creature is starting to swim away with Jarek. What would you like to do?
Well, I would like to stand up and then chase after it. It's, what is it, half movement to stand prone?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah, I'm gonna use my cutting action to dash so I can get to the crocodile. Should be. That should be okay, right? Or is this difficult terrain?
You can, with the cunning action, I feel like it's fine to say that you're going to make it. As far as things go, yeah, I think this would be difficult terrain. Yeah, all of Omu should be difficult terrain to walk through.
All right, but as I get here, I'm going to take a swing with one dagger then. Let's see.
I guess at this point, there's no reason to whisper it to you. Is Jarek unconscious right now?
That second bite took him unconscious. Yep.
Gotcha. So there's no sneak attack with that. You do not have an ally there. Oh, my bad. I'm an idiot. You miss anyways. An 11 is just going to glance across like these hard stone-like scales that make up the like part of the flesh of the crocodile. Anything else otherwise from you?
No, I don't think there's anything else I can do. I mean, action, bonus action. Wait, cunning action. That's my.
Yeah, that's your bonus.
Yeah, just trying to figure out how. And that's movement. Yeah. No, that's all.
So, Jarek, at the start of his turn, is going to kind of just in a moment is going to come back to consciousness, probably screaming, but at very least sees Terran at his side fighting along at this creature that is dragging away your body. When you are being drug away at the verge of consciousness, what is going through your mind? What would Jarek like to do?
So I imagine I dropped my magical blade when I went unconscious, right? So it's back by Island.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm definitely kind of like screaming in pain and just I think in kind of like as I'm coming to realizing I don't have it. I'm just gonna I think draw a draw my regular short sword and just try and stab kind of blindly up at this thing that's dragging me away.
Gotcha. You can go ahead and make 2 attacks there. Both of those are going to be solid strikes. You have Terran. Oh, a disadvantage, so
No, yeah, no sneak
16
attack.
more.
And actually, if I can make that first one a distracting strike, I'll do that.
Gotcha. The distracting strike is it wants to strike you and has to make a wisdom to strike at somebody else.
No, so the distracting strike is so I add the 2 damage, and then the next attack roll against it by someone other than me has
Has
advantage
advantage. Gotcha.
if it's made before the start of my next turn, which is presumably is going to happen.
Yeah. So theoretically, that will be the end of Jarek's turn, and we will roll it over into Island.
Island's gonna move his half move. And he's going to fire off a guiding bolt.
Gotcha. So guiding bolt will have the advantage. That is a solid strike into this creature. I think your spiritual weapon can just make it to combat.
I thought it was 20 feet, so I guess it's not trying to do it at disadvantage, right? So I deleted it because I thought I would lose. I thought I could only use spiritual weapon with a cantrip. So once I
No, you
cast
can
it,
only cast it. Once you've cast the spell, there's nothing that stops you from using anything else.
oh, okay, cool.
It's
Thanks.
the
I'll put it back
using
in.
of a spell slot that you are limited to.
All right, so it was there. I think it just doesn't quite make it.
Yeah, it's already at a distance.
That's okay. Maybe it'll make it next time. All right, so I'll take the move there. Is that my bonus action to do the move?
I
I think it is. It
I
must be,
think
right?
to move spiritual weapon, yeah, would consume your bonus action. But also, once you've cast guiding bolt, I don't think you have another bonus action.
No, I can't cast a healing spell, so it's only a cantrip after that. So, okay. I didn't know I could do 2 full action spells this way. Great. That's all I got for you, Jarek. Sorry. How's the alligator behemoth looking?
I think with the strike from the guiding bolt, you all are going to see the first signs that this creature is starting to kind of bleed out. So at this point, you guys will see that it is now bloodied.
And an attack on that target before the end of my next turn has advantage. The next attack.
So I think it is going to do the same thing here. It is going to crunch down on Jarek. Should hit with a 20. I don't think there's any reason that this could either kill or do anything but knock you unconscious. Doing 31 damage. I think that's just you're at 0 hit points again.
Yeah, I think it would have to basically crit to have a chance of possibly killing me.
Yeah, I think crit, and also it has to be trying to attack you with its tail as well. Just part of why I'm rolling the d20 to see what it's still thinking. Its tail attack, though, like I said, doing the same thing. It's trying to like shed itself of Terran. It is going to whip back out at Terran this time, just kind of grasping into the actual wall and slamming into the stonework beside it. It's going to miss Terran, not being able to knock him prone. It is going to try to move away from you, and it will proc another opportunity attack if you would like to slash at it, Terran.
And I would.
Solid hit for another 22 damage.
Should you? Oh, because he has advantage. Never mind. Yep.
Well, he would have been straight anyways. Even with a straight hit, he still has sneak attack. Oh, because you were unconscious? Yeah, it is the advantage that gives him the sneak attack. Touche.
But I think because of guiding bolt, he would have it anyway.
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I just want to make sure. Yeah, because I'm unconscious, so I couldn't give it to him.
Yep, and I think we are going to pick up there with Terran. Roll a perception check for me, Terran. So you're going to see in this creature's movement as it kind of like swam away from you with the body of Jarek that it's like dying out as it goes. And effectively, start of your turn, this gator is dead. You basically watch as like Jarek's body kind of falls from its mouth and almost gets kind of left behind a little bit. But what is your first reaction as you kill this crocodile and Jarek's body is kind of left to the water, just a little bit beyond you at this point? But effectively, this will drop you guys out of combat.
Well, first reaction is to call for Aiden. Aiden, quick! We need you to heal. Well, I need you to heal, Jarek. Oh, I rush over to Jarek.
I'm gonna cast
Gotcha.
Cure Wounds on him.
I don't think it matters, but let me get another death save. Yeah, you would have been at 0. There's no way you can fail it. So we can get that. You can get the cure wounds into him.
I moved to the corner, but I can't move on the sheet right now for some reason.
Jarek's going to come to with like another gasp. A very, very shakily get to his feet, and then kind of like after a few moments suddenly realize, like, you'll see his like eyes go wide and he's like, need to go back and get it, and he's going to start very kind of shakily, but definitely looking better than he did a moment ago, start moving back around the corner.
I think as you kind of come to consciousness here, you'll actually kind of hear the whispers of the sword, almost in like a melancholy kind of sound. It's almost has like a sense of doubt, where before I think it kind of looked to you as a champion. You kind of hear these whispers in the back of your head, where it's just like, another hero? Will we go without again? Are we lost? And you almost like hear this kind of calling to you as this kind of like doubt from the sword also kind of brings you back into it. Theoretically, even if it fell into this water, you can like reach into the muck and it's as if you've always been able to see it. You like reach directly for it and you can return the sword to your grasp. It would feel pretty nice to have it back in your hold after the first time having really lost it.
Yes, I feel it's like it's almost like the ring from Lord of the Rings, right? Like it picks somebody and then they always find it. Like even if, yeah. So yeah, he would be kind of he would give like a visible like audible kind of sigh of relief as his hands kind of like clench around the hilt again, and he brings it back up and he's very kind of like very carefully trying to like wipe the muck off of it, as he kind of rejoins the others and kind of gives a, you know, nod of thanks, and to Island for keeping him alive.
So as you
Yeah.
kind of gather
Of course.
as you kind of gather yourselves back up, kind of returns to your thoughts that you were approaching this mural that overlays the entryway into Papazotl's tomb or Papazotl's shrine, and you guys can return to translating that.
I think Jarek's also going to take some time, like after he's able to get the sword and get back up onto the side. He's going to rummage around, take out the healer's kit, and use it to patch up a few more of his like the bite wounds, kind of stuffing some like herbs and stuff into some of the bite marks to.
I stared at that for a long time to try to figure out why it was a 4. So, again, with the two of you kind of looking over this inscription, it won't take you but a few moments, or a few minutes rather, to translate. Papazotl teaches us to bow before no one. So this hall, I kind of revealed a little bit of it as Taryn kind of stepped in there. Realistically, this hall isn't necessarily like closed off, but there is moss that is entirely covering the kind of inside of this temple. So it's very much like not Temple of Doom, um, the Last Crusade style of you're almost like reaching through and pulling off moss, almost like the spider webs as he's kind of moving through this little temple. So you can't really see far through the moss, but this place is very much green inside of it as moss kind of clings to the ceilings, to the walls, and to the floors. But you can kind of see this little entryway about 10 feet inside, and then the walls are going to kind of extend out, and you can see that the moss kind of extends at least 5 feet in each direction, right and left of you, as you kind of push forward towards the end of the hall.
So Jarek's gonna suggest maybe Taryn, do you want to take the lead here? How high is the ceiling?
I feel like they all have the same ceiling heights of like 20 feet.
Okay, so it's not like low where we would have to essentially like kind of like duck down or anything. There's plenty of room.
Yeah, at present you definitely have nothing like forcing you to duck.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I can take point. How's the lighting situation? Do I need to like light my rings? See, or is it any kind of light?
There's certainly light coming in from around. The roof is intact, where there's no light coming from above, and then the moss that's hanging to everything is kind of stifling it. So there's a certain level of you can kind of clean up some stuff to gain some light, but you're essentially at a point where, yeah, having light from your rings is at least an initial good start here.
Yeah, then I'm gonna light my rings.
Gotcha. So, what are your thoughts as you're kind of at this point? You can kind of see that there's like the room is opening up ahead of you. It might be like 10 by 20. It might be just this kind of 20 by like 100. You can't see much more than 5 feet in any direction. Um, but like you see that there's at least like space ahead of you where you could clear away moss, space to the right of you that you could, space to the left. Like, what are you thinking when you have this room that's like very much just like a mossy wonderland?
Thinking let's clear away space to the front of me. Let's try to get in. See what's going on.
Gotcha. So as you start to clear away this area, you're going to see the stonework is actually really beautifully done, kind of tiles. And as you clear away more and more of the moss around this little area, you're going to see that the floor of this room, which is about 10 feet deep and about 20 feet wide, the floor of this room depicts a very tall, kind of spindly bird attacking a very large, kind of fat, bloated creature that has a bunch of little like pseudopod tentacles kind of reaching out of its face and are kind of um, like reaching out towards this bird. Um, Towards the end of clearing out this area, you'll be able to start to see that the outside area of this room has more cuneiform around it. And by the time you clear out the whole area here, you will basically see that there's like a mosaic tiled floor, um, this inscription around the outer walls of the room will kind of describe what you guys can recognize as the battle between Papazotl and Kubazan, effectively giving you a recounting where Papazotl kind of sent Kubazan off to attack Ubtoa as a little bit of a trick, and somehow Ubtoa rewarded Kubazan with these crazy tentacles that turned it into the frog hemoth, and now the frog hemoth tortures Papazotl ever after. But other than that, like the inscription around the room and the tile work showing like a depiction of it, there are two large doors ahead of you made of stone, and you're basically inside of this room with no other place to go.
But there were more inscriptions here, right?
If you're cleaning off the inscriptions, they can effectively translate them, and it just comes to, again, it's like that recounting of the same myth that you guys have now come across.
Oh, okay.
And the inscription on the front door was to bow to no one, right?
Yep. Papazotl teaches us to bow for no one.
Do we see any differences between the two doors? Does one look uh, more worn away, or any like different writings on one versus the other?
As far as I would say, I think you're gonna find everything about this room is pretty plain, except for that there's the mosaic on the floor and the inscription around the room. So I think the doors are going to be just as plain as the walls, where looking them over, one is a right hung door and one is a left hung door. But other than that, they open as doors tend to, like away from each other, there's no difference. So yeah, as far as things go, looking over them, I don't see you'll see an actual difference there.
Gotcha. Yeah, so Jarek will kind of look towards Taryn and kind of shrug and like, I guess we just pick one.
Yeah, I'll just pick the right door and try to push it open.
Roll a strength check for me. So you lean into it with everything you've got, and nothing really happens. You kind of like look back into yourself for a moment and kind of like tense up your muscles in a way that you can kind of square yourself up against the door and give it another push. Like, again, like giving it everything you've got. You don't feel any sign of the door budging.
Yeah, I don't think we can get it open by just pushing. I think there's a trick to it.
I want to examine the square on the floor where the inscription is. Is there any chance that that's a switch or a discrete section of stone or anything?
You can make a perception check. So taking like a little bit of extra time, kind of like sweeping around some of the inscription along the outer edges of this room, there doesn't seem to be anything in the text that seems to be anything other than like the cuts of cuneiform into it's almost got to be tile work, because I feel like cuneiform was always done into clay with the little tool stylus. So I think for what it is worth, no, kind of looking it over, this all seems to be to you very natural aged stonework. None of it seems to be out of place, like time wise, that like some part was replaced here or there. It all looks pretty uniform.
So when we were the pillar with the bird outside, you said it was standing on one leg. Jarek would have been thinking to look too closely at the time, but like kind of thinking back, is it was it clear whether it was standing on its right or its left leg?
I'm gonna go ahead and say one of them that was on like the right side of the entryway was standing on its right leg and the other was standing on its left leg. But I'm curious why you're asking. Like, what do you want to try with that information?
Just like I'm thinking, like, okay, so if we, if we can't push the door, if there's some trick to the door, maybe it's something to do with um, either like I don't know, you have to kind of like stand like the bird was standing, or you have to maybe, or he was thinking like, if they were standing on one leg, maybe that tells you like the left or the right door to use. That's just kind of what's my thought process there.
Gotcha. Then I'm gonna stick with where both of them seem like, just kind of looking outside, you can see that they're almost like in that symmetry where the one on the, well, now it's your right, like its rightmost leg is the one that it's standing on. So they're basically, the one on the left side is on its left leg. The one on the right side's on its right leg.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Taryn is gonna take a look up if he sees anything, like on the ceiling or.
Gotcha. Do a perception check for me. So I would say there's a certain level of, you haven't actually like cleared the moss from maybe like everything up and above you, but kind of taking a few moments to look around towards the top of these doors. Other than that, they go up and they're made of stone. I don't think you have anything to see other than maybe just recognizing these doors might just be really heavy and weigh more than you can open alone.
Taryn, you want me to see if I can help get that thing open?
Yeah, let's
If I
try it
show
together.
you into it as well.
Yeah, let's try it together. See if we can make it work.
Gotcha. And which door are you two pushing on?
Keep the right one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Gotcha. And if I recall, Taryn, your strength is 10,
11, but yeah.
11, and then Jarek, your strength is 12.
12, yeah.
When the two of you push on the door together, it very slowly opens up, and you are going to see another room before you.
Oh, yeah, definitely overthinking that one. Just a
Yep.
very heavy door.
Door weighs 600 pounds. It requires it requires somebody with 20 strength to push it open. A combined strength is acceptable. So as you guys push open this door, you're going to see as the little bit of light from Terran's rings kind of scatters into this room. Inside of the room, you are going to see a pedestal that stands up in the center of this room, about 15 or so feet away. There are 6 statues, 3 on each side to the right, 3 on the left side, all looking towards this central pedestal. Each one has a different head. They are all bare-chested humans, and as they go around this circle, the heads resemble those of a lizard, jaguar, lobster, toucan, bat, and a frog. And I think that's going to be left and topmost to right and most. I think that's how I guess realistically the picture doesn't actually matter as much as that you recognize that they're essentially humanoids with those 6 different heads.
Can you describe what's in the middle of the floor?
It is a pedestal of stone that kind of rises up in the center that they all appear to be effectively like looking out at.
And there doesn't happen to be a cube on it, is there?
Nope, from what you can tell outside of this room at present, there is no cube inside of that room.
Well, let's go in and see what happens. Oh, Taryn will walk into the room.
Of our
Jarek follows behind.
Terran's very brave.
So you all can step into the room. Nothing seems to happen as you walk inside. You get a little bit closer look at these statues. You see the pedestal ahead of you. The room continues on. Besides these kind of 7 things, it seems to be a pretty austere room.
We need to interact with the frog, since that's who Papazotl beat.
Well, I don't remember him beating the frog though. He was chased by the frog with tentacles.
Yeah, I figured in his own temple he was the winner.
You just translated the same kind of like twist of the myth in that room that you're still inside of Island. Like the myth is still written down in a way that shows like Papazotl is the one who came out on kind of the bottom of that. Whatever he aimed for, Obtoa gifted. I want to say it's Shamura
Koopathon?
is the frog one, but he gifted the frog Hemoth with those tentacles that make it so it like basically now tortures Papazotl.
And the frog that's in the alcove is just a regular frog, or is it a effigy of?
Nope, the head that is there looks like a frog.
Okay. Are these things the size that we could pick the head up and put it on the pedestal in the center of the room?
Make a perception check. You could certainly break the stone to remove the head and place it on the pedestal. They would fit on the pedestal. The pedestal's not small.
I was just imagining maybe we needed to move one of them out of the alcove into the center in some way. Doesn't sound like that was right.
And we didn't we don't see any other doors on the far end, right? This appears to be a.
Yeah, if somebody took the time to go to the other end, in the long run, yep, you're going to find that this is apparently the extent of this room. The pedestal that's empty in the center, and the 6 alcoves with these humanoids with different heads.
Should we try the other door? Perhaps something in that room will some hint about what we're supposed to be. What we need to do here.
I'm going to open the other door too. All right. My strength is only 8.
Darren, I mean, unless you've got another idea, that's all I can think of.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can't think of anything here right now either, so trying to. I'm stuck on the Papazotl teaches us not to bow for anyone, well, no, to bow for no one. So I'm stuck on that one.
Yeah, so I was thinking like we would need to dominate the frog. We're not going to bow even if it won. That's not really a plan at all.
So Jarek and Taryn are stepping back outside to push open the other door.
Yeah, Jarek will move out and move towards the other door, and then once if Taryn joins him, he'll do the same thing, try to force it open.
Gotcha. So you guys can open up that door. Are you closing the other one and like leaving Island in there for some time? Or are you guys just opening the other door?
Jarek wasn't planning to close the door behind them.
Gotcha. So yeah, you guys can open up the second door.
Perhaps one of us should stand on the pedestal.
I mean, sure. I was like being put on a pedestal.
I mean, you seem like you might be the easiest one to put on the pedestal, actually, too. But
So Taryn, as you climb onto the pedestal, uh, takes very little effort for you to do so. But you can certainly climb on top of it and be on a pedestal before your friends, looking absolutely glorious. But you can also, when you're ready, you can bring it up to them. The pedestal has more of the cuneiform on it.
Hey guys, there's more these weird writing thing you can translate.
cool.
More importantly, though, how long do you stand on top of the pedestal before you tell them?
I mean, I probably a solid 2 minutes, I guess.
Excellent. So yeah, as you guys take the next few minutes to translate what is written into this pedestal, you can see that there seems to be a riddle that goes with this little part of the shrine, where you guys can read, "It comes with sunshine, leaves with night, hides in darkness, does not bite, always joined to its caster, never strays from its master."
I think I know it, but I don't think Jarek would be quick enough on the uptake.
I mean, that's one of those things where riddles should not necessarily be anything but challenging the player. So if you've got it, you can certainly put it behind a die roll to interpret it, whether this is one of Jarek's obscure things that he actually has. But the danger of riddles is always being beyond the players themselves, not even necessarily if characters get it or not.
Yeah, I'm just thinking Jarek has an 8 intelligence, so I feel like I should roll to see if he knows it. Or if something about, like, yeah, if something would come to it.
That's what I mean. It's always best to put it behind a die roll, especially for things like this. So you are welcome to play it as something that is beyond you. If it starts to trouble your group, I would say have Jarek accidentally trip across it.
Sure. Yep.
So does Taryn or Island have any thoughts about what this might be?
Yeah, I think I got it too.
I don't. I got
So
as far as wind, but wind does bite, so I don't have it.
what might Taryn be thinking of?
I mean, I hope I'm right. Otherwise, I will feel kind of silly. But I mean, it comes with sunshine, leads with night, hides in darkness. Always young to its caster, never strays from its master. I think it's a shadow or my shadow.
Gotcha. So how do you think a shadow can help you here?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. How that would work here. But it's something to do with the shadow.
Is there a light source in this room?
At present, as far as I know, Taryn's rings.
And Taryn's rings are standing on top of the pedestal, so all of the alcoves are getting shadows from him, right?
His rings don't cast that much light, so at present he's definitely not really creating shadows. You guys are gonna need a light source if you want to create shadows. Taryn's rings are really designed to allow him to sneak places with his own light, not to light up areas.
Jarek will offer to light up a torch, trying to like kind of cast, you know, create a shadow for Taryn. That's what I was thinking too, and is the answer. So
Where are you going to make that shadow land? On the frog head?
Jarek's probably almost thinking like he'll light it and then he'll kind of like start like kind of walking a circle around Taryn and see kind of casting the shadow in a couple different places until hopefully something happens.
Cool.
Oh, just should we close the doors as before we do this, in case there's something on the doors? Haven't checked like the inside of the doors, right?
All right, so theoretically, Jarek is circling the pedestal with a torch, as Taryn is kind of saying, like, maybe we should shut the doors.
I think, yeah, I think Jarek probably would have already started, and then he might like stop when Taryn suggests it.
Gotcha. Yeah, so going in like an immediate circle around the pedestal, you're not really going to pick up much of anything. Assuming, say, you got halfway there, you're like, say, like southwest of where Island is now, when Taryn kind of like looks towards the doors and says, maybe we should shut these, and you guys can kind of progress from there. Um, is that the next course of action, though, is to Jarek and Taryn push those doors shut? They are effectively like large handled stone doors. So there's a handle to pull on to open the door after you close it. It's not like you think you're locking yourself in.
Okay, that was actually going to be my exact question. Yeah. But yeah, Jarek will. He's going to follow Taryn's. Taryn seems to know what he's doing with these riddles, so he's gonna follow, and he'll move to help close the door.
I'll just tell you straight now. You have the wrong idea if you think I have any clue what I'm doing.
Yeah, so you guys can take that little bit of time, push the first door shut, push the second door shut, kind of return to bring this torch over to the doors. Doesn't seem to be anything happening with the doors and the light.
Perhaps we need to do something so that a shadow falls upon the pedestal.
So, what would you like to do to cast a shadow onto the pedestal?
So I was waiting for Tarrant or Island to uh but I think if they don't object to that idea, I think probably take Jarek a bit to kind of figure out exactly how like how to angle something so that maybe he'd have somebody he'd like move back. He'd have someone stand, maybe Taryn stand like in front of the pedestal, and then kind of try to angle the torchlight so that it casts the shadow behind him onto the pedestal.
Gotcha. So, like, do you want Taryn where he is right there, and you're gonna go to the south of him to try to do it? Does that look? That's kind of what you're going for.
Yeah, that's the best idea Jarek has.
Roll a intelligence for me here. So, moving to this position, you can kind of like watch as you draw like the shadow from Terran over the pedestal, and nothing seems to happen. But you do notice that by getting so close to the statue, you're also creating a statue or a shadow behind its head as this statue kind of throws a shadow to the back of the little alcove. That's You're creating two different shadows when you do this. One over the pedestal, but also one from the statue.
So like maybe we need to line them up so Terran's head shadow is over the top of the frog head shadow. I get them aligned.
So I think I'm standing in front of the frog. Is the frog one down here at the bottom right?
I thought it was the one at the top left.
Um, my bad. It was left to right. So the left side is top to bottom, lizard, jaguar, lobster. The right side, top to bottom, is toucan, bat, and frog. So yeah, the one you're in front of right now is the frog.
Hmm. Yeah. What if we have Taryn standing in front of the statue and me kind of holding the light so that it casts a shadow onto Taryn that kind of overtakes the shadow that would be cast by the frog? Is that what you're thinking, Island?
Yeah, I'm just thinking of the not bowing piece. Maybe we just have to have the light on the pedestal and the person between the pedestal and the frog to cast the shadow over the frog. Maybe it's that simple. Like, can you move to 11 p.m. around the pedestal, and Taryn can stand in front of the frog, or you can move back one to the west, and he can stand between you and the frog. I think those are two things to try.
So you're thinking where Jarek is, Taryn between.
Well, that'll cast the shadow of Taryn. Like it'll line up with the frog now. Nice,
Yeah,
straight,
so
flat frog.
theoretically, you guys can create a shadow with Taryn across the frog. Nothing seems to happen.
And if when Taryn was on the pedestal and I was moving around, his shadow didn't reach into the alcove, right? Didn't, as far as I could tell.
Nope.
Maybe we try it with the bird, because right, Papazotl was a bird.
Or try it
Yeah, I
with
think the
you.
bird here though is a toucan, where a Papazotl is an eblis, so it's like I don't know what is that, like the spearfishing kind of birds. They've got like really long beaks, so they like feed in shallow water. Whereas like the toucan is like a very large, I feel like almost like a nut breaking beak.
Yeah, that's why I didn't initially think anything of like that. It might be the toucan because because they're different kinds of birds. What if Taryn? What if you stand on one leg like we saw the Iblis doing? While I'm still trying to cast the shadow.
Sure, I'll try. I'll stand on my right leg.
So you can do such, and doesn't seem to have any effect.
What if you get up on the pedestal with the light? Right, that's where the sun would be in relation to anything, and then you can cast two shadows, one of Taryn and one of the frog, because the light source will be higher.
Oh yeah, and didn't think about this before, but I'm gonna put out my rings as well. Yarek has his torch up.
Gotcha, that's fine.
Jarek will move to climb up onto the pedestal with the torch.
Without having a roll to see how funny it may or may not be to have you climb up on the pedestal, you can climb up to the pedestal. Roll a perception for me. Looking around, the light doesn't seem strong enough that it's creating any shadows in this place. The only time you really saw shadows was effectively when the torch was right next to something. The difference between like the sun creating a shadow and this torch, the brighter a light is, the more of a shadow it creates. So a small light, it has to be pretty close to create shadows.
Yeah, so I think Jarek is gonna maybe like kind of trying to look. Um, he's gonna essentially go like kind of walking in front of each in a, I guess, counterclockwise at this point. So from bottom right to then around to the top left and down, and he's trying to look to see if like if he sees um anything odd about the shadows that these things cast, or if something like on the wall behind them as he's doing it.
Gotcha. So are you just kind of like walking by, just like cursory? Are you taking a moment to like wave the torch like at their feet, at their chest, at their head? What kind of looking are you doing as you're kind of walking around counterclockwise here?
Yeah, I think he'd be moving like in front of each. He'd be like kind of holding the torch like kind of up a little above their like head level, um, kind of slowly bringing it kind of like back and forth, and just trying to kind of like peer behind it. And he would spend maybe like, I don't know, like 30 seconds, a minute in front of one before moving on to the next.
Gotcha. So yeah, you can go in front of the frog statue, and you kind of have just like effectively kind of the shoulder height of this torch, and you can take a few moments to kind of move it, and you watch as like the shadow casts along that back wall behind it, and it seems to flex and change and seems normal. When you move to the next statue about a minute later, you start to do the same thing, and you're about to move away from it before you just like almost just like look back towards the frog for a second, move the torch towards the frog's head, move the torch back towards the bat's head, and you can realize that yeah, when you move the torch towards the bat's head, it's scattering light across something. It's not the back of the wall that you see in front of you, and it's only when you have the torch right in front of the bat that you can see that there's a tiny little crawl space behind this bat.
So Jarek is he'll call to the others like, I think I found something.
So you have a little space. It's about 2 by 3. As far as things go, everybody should be able to fit inside of this. It is going to be far more comfortable for somebody like Terran, who can more or less just move inside of there, where everybody else will be squeezing, effectively making difficult terrain to try to move through this space. Do you want to go forward? Are you pushing Terran forward? What are you all thinking as Jarek kind of shows you this little trick with the shadow, and you can see this small crawl space behind the bat figure?
I think
I,
Tarek. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Taryn.
yeah, I was just gonna say I could go first and call if there's anything I need help with. Want?
I was just about to suggest the same.
So Terran can crawl first. You find just a little room that extends out about 5 or so feet behind the bat. The crawl space extends about another 10 feet to your right before it opens up inside of a small little like 10 by 10 room. And when you enter that room, Terran, you're going to see that the walls are etched with this kind of pattern into the stonework that is otherwise bare. And theoretically, with everybody else following, you guys can soon come in and see the same image across the walls of the stone. So, with that bit of what you discover, I want to take a break so you guys have a chance to kind of mull over this while we take a break. But I do want to have, like, do you have any initial questions before we take a break?
So this tile, is this like all around on each wall? Is it on a particular wall? Is it on the ceiling or the floor? Sorry, I
I
missed the
feel like
description.
it's best to say maybe it is just the southern wall, and all of the rest of the stonework is pretty blank, with next to nothing to show you it's any less than like monolithic. This stone wall should jump out because it has this like grid-like pattern to it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So like if you assume everything else is just I think granite is a very hard, smooth gray rock. If you look at this wall and you see these tiny little like squares carved into it, whereas the east and western walls and the northern wall, the little crawl space, are all just smooth granite.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Yeah, so if there's no other questions before we take a break, let's take the break here, and we'll come back with kind of trying to figure out what this next part of the puzzle is trying to accomplish.
Cool.
I feel like that's a solid example of like where knowing that the riddle is asking for shadow and what you do with it are completely separated, and that's why like challenging the player or the PC, getting the answer doesn't really matter. It's then like accidentally doing the right thing with it kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we knew it's something to do with shadow, but still took us a while to stumble upon, you know.
Yeah, because like noticing the cuneiform on the pedestal, nobody even really talked about doing anything close to the pedestal until Terran was climbing on top of it, and his passive perception is high enough to notice, hey, these two can read scratch marks that look like this.
Yeah, hello, I'm back. Also,
Yeah, I was just saying, I think this is the perfect example of a like riddle where even if you know the answer, that doesn't mean that you have a solution to the problem. Shadow is just like something. And it's one of those funny things where like a group who everybody walks around with a light source can accidentally create that a lot easier than you guys like were going out of your way to like very purposefully create shadows instead of like everybody's walking around with light and you're accidentally going to create them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like realistically, if everyone was walking around with like we could have stumbled upon this crawl space without ever encountering the riddle at all or even knowing it was there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's one of those things where yeah, anybody who walks by with a torch, you can't like really accidentally like walk by with the torch, but if you had like really high passive perception and you walked by north to south across the bat, I think I would let somebody have that. Especially like if you took like the observant feat.
Yeah, or maybe even if we're just like trying to look at the like get a closer look at the statues like with the torch near us, it might be enough to kind of like accidentally see, oh, there's something weird about behind it.
Yeah, and that was part of why as soon as you had said, well, I want to look closer at it, I wanted a description of how you were looking at it. Because the solution is holding a torch in front of each creature's face. You can see like through the illusion. But like I know a lot of people who walk around and once you can ritually cast, having detect magic, that would have told you right where the secret door is. There's a lot of things where like there's side steps to solutions, but it's always one of those questions. Do you want to take that spell when it robs you of getting to find the solution? Or is that actually your solution is I hate riddles, so I always want to know the answer? I've played
Yeah,
with
like,
it. Go ahead.
no, just like because it was Brennick has detect magic, but it's not like I'm going into every room and just like casting it, you know. But I guess there probably are people who would do that. Just like, yeah, let me see what's here.
I've had players who do that. They cast it pretty much constantly, and what it came down to is making the recognition that, like, especially ritually casting, it was always a question like Godric, and who's the other one? Squeak. It's a goblin in my Lost Mines of Phandelver game now. He's permanently immortalized. Squeak is wrong. I can't believe I can't think of his name, but like
Screech.
Screech, yep. Screech and Godric would always be up. The cleric's casting something again, and they would just start wreaking havoc on shit. So it became always a question of can you keep the two explorers passive enough, long enough to cast the spell, because you never know. Sometimes it was incredibly useful. Sometimes it was just another room where Epcot needed 10 minutes before he wanted to move on. But it was hilarious how often some sort of antics came about because the cleric's like, bro, there's something magical happening here. Let me find out what it is. And they're just like, all right, cool. We're going to see how many doors we can open in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's like, you expect me to stand still for 10 minutes? No, no.
I can barely do that in real life.
Yeah, I really love ritual casting for that very fact. Is if the group really understands how funny stuff can be, you don't do it to fuck over the cleric. You as the player recognize the cleric's doing something very useful. But you as the player also then realize like something's going to happen very good or very bad. And a lot of times it's not even a big deal. A lot of things aren't especially dangerous to lack one or two players from until all of a sudden you hit like the two critical fails at the same time and you're like, oh, we shouldn't have poked that hornet's nest.
Hi guys.
Excellent, welcome back. So does my bad, I shouldn't have even did anybody look over that second image? Do you have any thoughts as to what this is looking for?
Yeah, I'm curious. The second image, the darker patches, do they seem like they're there intentionally, or like they darkened over age, or they're muddy, or whatever?
Roll me a insight. Yeah, so looking over them, when you contemplate that there's some trick to learn here, and the stonework of this whole place has been a very monoform gray slate comes to mind. I had the other kind of stone in mind before. But very like purposeful gray stone makes up this whole place. You found um, these stones that are inside of this small, most secretive of rooms. And they're all two colors. Looking over this, those brown spaces probably mean something. Nothing about this makes you think this was accidental. So, what's Island thinking of when he sees this stonework, or when they kind of like come back to talk about it?
Yeah, sorry I didn't crawl in there. I was counting letters against the thing like it was Jeopardy, and that didn't really add up. I'm thinking about why it's behind the bat.
Let me have a wisdom throw from you. When you start to count the letters, they don't make perfect row to row substitutions. You can't just put comes with sunshine into the top row. But you do notice that there's the same number of letters as spaces. If you just had this as a straight jumble of letters, it would fit into this square.
So like a substitution cipher, CO are the first two letters, right? And go from there. Do you guys hear me at all when I was just talking?
No,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what the two of you at
Sorry.
present can look at. Is your first two letters are CO. Does anybody plan to draw this out and actually make a grid, or are you all just trying to do it like kind of right in front of yourselves?
I'm actually drawing out and setting numeral on like
Excellent. If
so that
you're like going to write it all out here, I'm going to give you all the solution because you're on the right track. You've asked the right questions. So to not make you actually go through the whole process, is that fine? Or do you want to actually finish it?
I'm okay with that, but I don't want to ruin your fun, Chris.
I mean, if you have the patience to wait for me a little while, I
Yeah,
can
like
do it.
let's let Chris do it. That sounds good.
No, yeah, 100% go for that. That was actually the reason why I say it like that is that was meant to be my first question coming back was to bring up I started to say it earlier, that there's like a quitting level to puzzles. As long as they're fun, awesome. The moment it doesn't, it's no longer fun. When it turns to this is aggravating, definitely please let me know when I can't see your faces. It's one thing that actually makes me want to stream our actual like attention is I can see when somebody's just like, all right, I hate puzzles. Let's move on.
That is definitely a lot easier to see in real life.
Yeah, there's a big like quitting ratio to puzzles where it's like, all right, cool. I put it in front of you. You guys had some cool solutions, but yes, here you go. Uh, but yeah, those were definitely good questions. Do you see the third letter yet, Chris?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I had to push the talk. Yeah, right. Yeah, I have like C O V and E so far.
Excellent. So with 5 more letters to go, you guys have Cove. Have you gotten to the next letter yet, Chris?
Yeah. Uh, double checking this. Cover. So cover something.
So you got 4 more letters left.
Oh, and the last two are ES, right? Does it cover
So you got
eyes?
cover, blank, blank, ES.
Does it cover eyes? I feel like in the middle I may have missed kind of like one or two spaces. I was just doing it like visually, so I could
Going
have missed.
backwards. Yeah. Have you gotten to the next letter, Chris?
Yeah, let's check. You you had ES as the last letters. You said?
Yep.
Yeah. And then yeah, this is definitely gonna be cover eyes because I have cover E.
Yeah, so I'm going to rob you at that point then. I'm not going to let you find the Y. It is indeed cover eyes. So you guys know of 12 sets of eyes. Go ahead, I can't say sets. 12 eyes that are inside of this temple.
Yeah, but how do we cover them? Do we have anything to cover them with? Like, I mean, I could guess, could just like put any kind of cloth over.
Yeah, don't tell me now the thief doesn't have any ideas how to cover some eyes.
Yeah,
Like-
I have ideas to cover eyes. It's just like, do I have anything to do it with?
Yeah, I don't know how well I could probably use like some bandages from a healer's kit, but they might be if they're more gauzy, they might not be enough. They might not be opaque enough.
Does Island have any thoughts on how to cover eyes?
Depending on the size of them, can we put a coin in front of each one?
I feel like in the Sword Coast, maybe not, because they all have holes in the coins. I can't actually think of what any Chalton coins look like. But you could certainly deform some coins to make them into more of like a pancake, like what we would think of coins. But as far as I can think, like Waterdeep's currency is all like donuts.
You know what? I've got an extra bedroll that from one of those explorers kits we found. I could just like tear some strips off of that and make essentially like some really crude blindfolds.
Nice. We got rope we could tie around. Right, we could tie rope around their eyes like a
I mean,
blindfold.
I feel like bedroll is basically saying it's like maybe like canvas tarpaulin kind of thing. It might be waterproof canvas. So is that what you're going for? You're going to bedroll up some makeshift blindfolds?
Let's Island or Taryn, if you have anything that you think would work better. Like I said,
Nope,
it's
I
an
like it.
extra one, so I can just like rip the I can ruin it to do it.
Yeah, so assuming you guys see as Jarek starts to tear this canvas off and wraps the first blindfold around one of these creatures, everybody hops in and starts to do it. And at the point where the last person reaches up, placing the blindfold in place, not even yet able to tie it, you're going to hear a and as anybody who looks to where the sound comes from looks to the pedestal, there will be a cube sitting on top.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cube
good work.
achieved.
I don't think I have this one in Roll20, but I'm going to drop it in Discord. All of them look pretty simple, but just in case you are collecting the full set, you now have Papazotl. Papa Headless. That's a good name for it.
Yeah, Island, good call on the letters. I would not have figured that out, or would have thought would not have thought to do that.
Yeah, no, me either. That was a really good call.
No, I was on the wrong track though, because there were 5 boxes to the left on the second row, right? Which all the first words were 5 letters, so
That's what psyched me out.
close.
But
But
the
yeah,
moment you said you were even counting it, I was like, yep, this is going to be like a DC like 8 if he rolls even remotely high. Because that's one of those things where I think that's part of where there's a blend between even thinking remotely on track of how it goes should start to turn that trap into your favor. Because if you're just trying to imagine what sadistic person created this trap, you may never get like anything one trap to the next.
let's get to the next.
So you all are in the northeast of this area, kind of looking out from where you now are on this temple in the kind of river. You are basically looking at some stone structures to the north and northwest of you that are all in view and pretty much come right up to the actual edge of the like collapse that is Omu. So you guys can kind of see all of that to the north of you and effectively kind of pick up some of the vines that are extending around much of this other area. But where do you all have in mind to explore?
I think it'll be, a circle in the end, right? So like west and maybe due west of where we are.
Yeah, that sounds good to Jarek.
Yeah, sounds good to me too.
So due west, you want to travel through the water till you get to the shore, or due west the building that is very, very close to you, where you're like immediately out of the water.
I
Jarek's
think,
definitely for. Oh, go ahead, Al.
yeah, onto the land, not walking around on the water. Is that what you were thinking, Jarek?
Yeah, after getting nearly bitten in half by an alligator, yeah, he's
Yeah,
all for the dry land.
definitely always dry land. I'm interested in this very square building. There doesn't seem to be that much of a pattern to which building is the right building yet.
Gotcha. So just trying to make your way to there and then heading into that building.
If it looks promising, does it look promising? Like, I think Island would have a good sense of what a temple should look like.
Yeah, so for what it's worth, I mean, you are effectively seeing signs that this is a promising temple, and you can make your way towards it. Let me get a roll of a d20 from you. So you all start to clear away when you get close enough and you kind of clear through the jungle to open up this area. You at least see signs of a wall. It's probably worth going into to check out. And at present, it doesn't seem to show you signs whether that it's not a temple. It seems to have this wall that they all have tended to have. Let me have a D100 from Island now. And let me get a D100 from Taryn. So as you all kind of explore into this area, you're able to make it into what seems to be kind of the ancient entrance portico, like a lot of these temples have had. They walk through a small hall and then open up into a small square. There is going to be a point where stepping forward onto the stonework, the floor is going to collapse. I need a dexterity saving throw from all of you, please. Yeah, as it starts to go, everybody is quite quick to move from the way. And effectively, as you kind of explore a little bit further into this, you see signs that this is just a random kind of building structure. Doesn't seem to be anything of interest. You all could climb deeper into this lower level that's kind of opened up or move along.
And for moving along, a lot of temples to find.
Agreed.
Yeah, agreed.
Continue west along the water's edge, maybe? Or do
Yeah,
you want
that
to get to that
sounds.
north road where there's no crocodiles?
Maybe kind of just keep continuing west, and then eventually we'll, rather than kind of curving around to the south to follow the edge, just kind of keep going west from where we are.
So from here, if you move onto the land and start clearing forward, let me get a D20 from you, Jack. You can kind of push forward along the land as you open up some of these routes to see a few structures to the north, all kind of small, pretty open area. And then you're going to see another large building, not actually surrounded by anything, but it is at least regal enough size wise where it could certainly be one of these temples. To the south of you, you see another large building, also not surrounded by anything, and a few other structures that are open out into the air.
Jarek will kind of look to the others. Seems like either one of those is a possibility. Any preference on which one we try?
Regal building.
Sound good, Taryn?
Yeah, that sounds good. Go for the Regal one.
Let's go for a D20 from Terran and a D100 from Island. So taking a little bit of time to explore this building, you all can kind of see a pretty open entrance area that doesn't really seem to have a whole lot of structure holding it off. It seems to be some sort of maybe like community hall, but it seems very kind of bland and lacking in really anything to see. Whatever it might have been, it seems consumed by the jungle, as if everything was perishable besides like the walls and the roof here. You can see a little bit of yeah, I think one of those kind of like stone thoroughfares that were almost levees that stood higher than the rest of the ground. This one passed north to south. Some buildings behind seem to be maybe large enough, but they are kind of um, east to west positioning wise. If it's different than the other temples, that all of those you've seen have been north to south. Otherwise, you guys can kind of leave this building and kind of turn back and investigate a little bit in a different direction.
Okay, so
Can we
this
look at this one with the
this longer. I think
vault?
that's the one we were just in, right?
Yep, you guys are basically inside here now.
Okay.
And then you said that's a wall to our west, right? Or the levee.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of describing as. They're like a weird kind of blend of it's like wall-ish, levee-ish. It does something to separate this town. This one just being north to south, where the other one you guys like started to clear along was east to west, like next to Orlungu's temple.
Right, gotcha. Yes, I guess Jarek will suggest we start moving south, kind of along the maybe sticking along kind of the edge of this kind of obstruction.
Moving along south, like you want to go on top of that stone structure and start clearing down it, or you want to clear along the wall.
I think the more I was thinking more like clear along the wall. Maybe have someone try to keep an eye out for like if there's any places where like the stone is worn away and there's like an opening, kind of like we saw with the that inner wall around the central portion. But
Gotcha.
otherwise, yeah, just kind of along the edge, but not actively trying to get to the other side. I think that's Jarek's, but Island and Taryn, what do you guys think?
Oh, that's very comfortable following your lead at this point. We've got a long time together. Charge ahead.
Sound good to you as well there, Taryn?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, go any direction. Sounds good to me. Let's keep going.
Gotcha.
That's-
Let's go a D20 from Jarek, D100 from Taryn. So clearing along the wall, you all are going to see the wall, pretty solid structure, all to your west. It makes a good kind of point of reference that you all can kind of clear through this next area. Most of this is going to be very obviously smaller living structures passing along this wall. Getting towards the southern end of it, you all will be able to start to hear and confirm some of like the lapping water to the point where you can probably see enough to like the southeast of you is back to the water, and probably have enough of a sensation that you can kind of connect the dots that you're almost even with what was it, Nang Nang's temple kind of thing, like north to south wise. Do you want to explore further south, going towards the water? You can see at least a structure in front of you. You can hear the water to the east of you, and then you have that stone structure that is off to the west of you.
I'm interested in the one to the east. Looks tall. Is it taller than the rest?
There's definitely some buildings that are still to the east of you. You can see two of them to seem to be in that second story, maybe a little bit kind of above them. They seem to be otherwise kind of squat stone structures. Do you want to move to the east?
I do. What about you, Jarek? Is that all right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Say maybe
So
we're keeping an eye out because it seems like most of the temples we've seen so far have at least some sort of like or not iconography, but like stuff on the outside, like images that. So if we see any of those on these few buildings to the east of us, that might be a clue that it's one of them is a temple.
roll a wisdom for me.
Because that was really wise. Even if you didn't roll that way.
So as you guys are moving to the east here, you can start to clear away. There's a building to the north that has a second story that has kind of a dome to it, and there's a building to the south of that that has very similar build that is that stone structure with a second story that's kind of built into it. Would you like to go into the northern one or into the southern one?
Aaron, you're up for making difficult decisions.
Yeah, just thinking about something. Haven't most of the temple, well, most, haven't all of the temples we've been in so far have been like walled in, like have an outer wall perimeter? Trying to remember if Nang Nang Shrine was also walled off. Yeah, I can go for north, I guess. That's walled in. Yeah, so I'm thinking at least we're looking for a structure with an outer perimeter wall to it. I guess is what I'm trying to
Still
say.
going into the northern building now?
Yeah, I mean, so far we've only seen 3 shrines. Might not be that all of them is like that, but
Gotcha. Let me get a D20 from Island and a D100 from Taryn. Entering into the building, not going to see a whole lot of things that remain behind. Might have been kind of a large living space. It could have been some sort of business space. But you are able to find two jade rings as well as a I think just do crystal Eblis, a little token to Papazotl. And you can write those down for mechanics that they are approximately 25 gold value.
So 2 rings and 1 figurine, is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Starting to feel like the Flaming Fist here, just looting these old buildings.
Oh, did I actually accidentally delete Eku? Um, yeah, so you guys kind of find yourselves on this little bit of an island, having gone through this building besides a few artifacts left behind from the old Omawan. Doesn't seem to be anything inside of it. But at this point, yeah, you guys can recall that not only do these all have walled courtyards, but you've also seen each one has like a pedestal or a colonnade that has two depictions of the god on each side of it. They have a kind of structure that you've got the familiarity for.
I think start back south again.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Guys wanna-
So, no, you're fine.
Yeah, I was just gonna agree with Derek. Like back south, try to find a way around that western uh, wall or structure.
Yeah, staying on dry land if we can. At least that's Jarek's vote.
Gotcha. So head back to the wall and start to head south.
Yeah, like backtrack back to where we were before we kind of moved east and then south again. Yeah.
Gotcha. Let me get a D20 from you, Jarek. So you guys can explore this next little area, coming to the point where the wall starts to fail to the west of you. You will eventually see where the water kind of opens up. You guys can kind of spot from this area that there are some more stone works just on the opposite side of where the stone kind of gives way. And then from this side, you can pick up a little bit more of the structures that are the coast on the western side of kind of the Yuan-Ti little zone. So you guys have like a little bit more of a view of where this river's cutting through. And I think you could probably get a circle view of all of that. I think that's probably where you guys are at, like investigation wise, of this upper area. So you can ford the water again, go through this area and make further to the west. You can ford down to the south and investigate any of that. That's kind of where you guys are at. You could go back north or go like directly west and kind of climb the actual wall here. If I see correctly, it seems like that wall was actually to keep people out because I see all of the stairs are on one side of it.
Yeah, let's climb that wall and get a good look at. I want to see that part to the north that we missed as well.
Well, even this, like the other things, is still getting consumed by the jungle. So you guys like find the wall and you know like it's a solid stop in front of you, but it doesn't mean you can't climb the vines to get to it. There's not a whole lot more view once you're actually on top. But if you guys move directly west, let me get a D20 from you, Island. Hmm. So, as you all move west here, clearing a little bit of this thoroughfare, you guys can see some of the buildings to the west of you being smaller stone structures. A little bit of a continuation of the actual structure, like moving north on top of the kind of stone wall, and the first set of stairs that will descend from it, just a little bit beyond you by about like 100 or so feet, where you guys could actually walk down onto what is probably the continuation of the way that once kind of made the. It's a circle when I press Alt. But that road kind of north of Neng Neng's temple. What would you like to do moving forward here?
Jarek, you're up. I think I made the last one.
If the stairs seem sturdy enough, Jarek would suggest we use those. And he will volunteer to kind of go first, test them.
Gotcha. So you can certainly move forward towards those stairs. You guys can start to take the next little bit here to kind of start cleaning away some of the jungle, opening up a little bit of a view around this area to yourselves, to the point where you kind of confirm there are a few buildings to the south that are kind of larger, a few buildings to the north that are kind of larger. Neither of them seem to present you the same stone structure where you see monoliths or columns that stand with a god or an animal on top of it. But one of them seems to be a larger building that has maybe a atrium. It's kind of hard to tell. Perhaps the roof has just collapsed, but you can kind of see like the outline of the upper levels of this building have greenery inside of them. So that building, basically what you're able to kind of pick up is it seems to at least be wall-like.
Should we check it out?
Totally. Taryn?
Yeah, definitely.
So let me have you roll another D100. Taryn. So looking around in this building, you all are going to spot a similar kind of structure where it seems to be a very open building. Going through and investigating the one next to it, you see that it is kind of like maybe built open as well. Perhaps it was at one time an actual greenhouse. Perhaps it's something else. But effectively just kind of like getting lost in these extra two buildings. At some point, though, while you all are in this like open air atrium, you are going to hear kind of the movement of a creature just off to the north of you, and perhaps outside of the building. Perhaps they're making their way in, but just kind of like 20 or so feet behind where you just came, you hear movement that is not your party. What are you all thinking?
Jarek's going to, depending on how like uh overgrown or like if there are like trees or something, to try and conceal himself behind, um like looking to the north, um or towards the where the sound is emanating from. But like if there's like a tree or something, we can try essentially try to take cover and um
Gotcha. You can certainly take cover. Island, Taryn, what are you all thinking?
I'm following. Jarek,
Gotcha. Dropping in the cover. And Taryn, kind of following suit with this like quick little signal to make yourselves scarce.
Yeah, I'm following suit.
Let me get a group stealth roll from you.
I don't use that one much.
Yeah, so I think you all are going to hear two voices in a language that nobody speaks. It is quite horrific on the ear, very kind of scratchy. It makes your skin crawl to kind of like listen to this language that just seems entirely alien from a normal human world. But their speech is short, and they seem to kind of move past this building and disappear off into the distance or beyond what you can recognize. What would y'all like to do as you kind of come back to from them passing by?
the Jarek is kind of like giving like a kind of like an involuntary shudder just at like the noise, and he'll kind of like, as they're seem to be move on, he's gonna like quietly suggest like maybe give it a few minutes before we, make our way back out of here.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Gotcha. So after hiding off for a few moments, letting things kind of calm, what are your thoughts when you actually prepare to move forward?
Jarek might suggest, Taryn, if you want to maybe try and like scout, you're the quietest of us. If you want to kind of like scout ahead a little bit, peek out, just make sure there's nothing waiting for us once we step back out.
Yeah, sure, I can do that. Stealth. Well, stealth out with me.
Make a perception check for me. So yeah, with a cursory kind of look out around your surroundings, um, if you're just kind of looking through the empty stone windows of this building, you can kind of peep around the vines to see, you know, from your vantage point, doesn't seem to be lacking in anything. When you prepare to leave the building, what are your thoughts?
I'm thinking I didn't see anything. It's perfectly fine.
So yeah, like moving back out into the square where you've kind of cleared things, You can take that kind of step into the open air, and looking about, doesn't seem to be anybody nearby here. So you guys are kind of in that same position. I don't think I described those stairs that I revealed. You would have been able to see those. That there is another set of stairs leading up. At this point, I'd say it's reasonable enough to recognize that it's probably another one of these walls that extends north to south in the city. And that you guys have the kind of option of do you want to move backward and up or down that thoroughfare? Do you want to go up from the building you're in now towards the north? Hop on that other one and move up and down it? Would you like to move south inside of those two walls?
I think we should move more north, explore the area north of us, I'd say. See what we can find.
Jarek is thinking maybe we kind of go back up those steps to our east. See if we like move north along there again. See if we can find another set of stairs, kind of a little farther north, back down onto this side.
Yeah, okay. Sounds fine to me.
And me.
Do a d20 for me, Jack. So, as you all clear the next few hundred feet, you do see that there is indeed another gap. It is pretty much in line with the east to west that you traveled between Papazotl's, and the building that you kind of saw was, I think that was the very empty structure. And you can kind of pass into this area where you see that you have steps that continue on to the west. You can see some buildings along this way. All of them appear to be stone at present.
Yeah, head down the stairs, or do you want to, Tanner? Do you think it even go a little bit farther north, like as long maybe to like the end of this wall as far as we can?
Yeah, I'd like to see. It looks like there's a wall building in the next block north.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about how far north we can go on this wall thing.
Why would this like pair of walls be keeping people out in the middle? It's like keeping people out from both sides, not keeping people out from the center. Strange.
It is kind of strange.
So moving up to the north along this path still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me do a d20 from Island here. Got another couple of stone structures to the west of you as you all clear to the north here. You see some of the smaller houses that remain kind of in each directions from what you can see, but you all do effectively come to the end of this fair as it seems to have kind of split off as the city fell into this pit.
I think kind of reaching the terminus, Jarek could just be kind of backtrack and head back down those stairs.
Can we see anything
Investigating.
on that square walled in building? We don't see any symbols. or anything that we recognize as a temple, right?
Like north of where you all are.
Yeah, just north and a little bit east.
That one is going to be one of those questions of you see signs of the walls. It's just small.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, let's go back down the stairs and figure out what's going on in that neighborhood.
So D20 from Jarek here. So you guys can clear this back area, finding yourselves on the opposite side of where you last heard those figures kind of pass by from the north down to the south. You find a set of stairs on the western end of this little area. And while you are crossing through, you see another couple of smaller buildings. But in the center of this, you are going to see a building that is flanked by. This one is the Flying Snakes.
That reminds me, actually, Island, have you been still feeding? What did we end up calling the flying snake in the?
Yeah, I'm taking care of it. Got a flying
I could,
snake of Zin. No, it's like the flying snakes that evil group uses that starts with Z. I forgot what they're called. I'll think of it in a minute.
yeah, I completely forgot about the snake. So, but the Zentarum, right? Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah, the flying snakes of the Zentarum use them for messaging, and we have a wild one. Yeah, and it's not. It still doesn't like me.
Oh, yeah. I
Still
definitely
pissed.
mistook what the Sioux monster is. Sioux monster is a monkey. Um, are they winged? No. So you guys see like these pillars for this one have. I think it looks like a pretty pissed off monkey kind of standing at the top of the pillar with kind of like one claw overhead as it's kind of reaching forward to slash at an enemy.
I think we might have found the fourth temple here.
Let's get in there, huh?
Let me get another D20 from Terry. Alrighty. So you've got the courtyard ahead of you. The monkeys on top are kind of reaching down as if to, or reaching out as if to attack at enemies. As you approach and kind of clear away some of this entry area to see more of, you can see that the actual structure seems to be kind of an open stone structure with approximately 5 entryways just beyond these guarded gates. What sort of thoughts do you all have as you gain a sight on this monkey shrine?
Cautious.
Jarek is he's trying to keep an eye out for any signs of that old Omoan writing. Probably, I think, probably not along that outer wall area, but if we, as we approach closer, that's what he would be mostly trying to keep an eye out for.
So, if you guys are moving past the entryway to get closer to look for any uniform, is that the idea then?
Sure.
Gotcha. Is Jarek leading the way to do this?
Cautiously, yes.
We need to heal you before we go any further. What kind of condition are you in?
Yeah, Jarek is still. He seems slightly bloodied, but
You ready for another for a healing kit? Or you want some magic?
I believe he has used the healing kit on himself, so at this point he can only be hit by the 1 hit point.
Got it. And if I use a healing kit on him, same. It's just 1 healing kit per day for major healing, right? Doesn't matter who does it.
yeah, I think it's like
I believe
can
it's
only
actually short
benefit
rest.
can only benefit from the effect. I think until I finish short or a long rest.
All right, there's a little more for you. A little more healing for you.
So you like
I
healing
like
him
just
as you push him forward?
yeah, just touch him on the back and give him a little shove. Yep. Get in there,
All
bud.
right. So as he shoves you through the gates, Jarek is going to hear a horrendous cacophony of monkey cries as they start like shrieking out at you, and your ears are just going to start ringing with this noise.
Do I see any actual monkeys? I like kind of looking around these entryways.
Make a perception check. Quick look around. The only place you see monkeys is those 2 stone monkeys that are on top of the pedestals, or on top of the columns.
So Jarek is he's gonna kind of like hold up a hand towards like Island and Taryn, like hold on a sec, and he's going to kind of like retreat, like move outside the wall, and he wants to see if the cacophony kind of dies down as he does that or starts to fade, backs away.
Moving back through, it quiets down, and as you get back to the other side, it seems to be absent. Your ears might still be ringing on a little bit of a level, but you can definitely find that there's something related to the sound and walking through this entryway.
So Jarek's gonna kind of like gesture towards like Taryn and Island, like maybe we should check these colonnades, see if there's any writing on them. Like, and he'll explain like the sounds he heard and how they seem to kind of like fade after he got moved back, and wants to maybe check and see if there's anything here.
On these outside columns.
Yeah, the ones with the like the imagery of the monkeys.
Yeah. All right. So we'll make an exhaustive search for the one near me.
Gotcha. Let me get an investigation from Island and from Jack. What's Taryn thinking while they're looking at these things?
I'm thinking I'm gonna move through them, just further in.
You're gonna test the
Gotcha.
sound
Where are
barrier.
you moving to? Gotcha. So yeah, you're gonna walk through while they're kind of looking off at these things. Same kind of sound as what Jarek described to you is going to happen, where all of a sudden you're inundated by this loud, horrendous. It's mildly frightening because you can tell there's hundreds of monkeys surrounding you, and they seem angry. But as you continue moving forward, it gets silent. You've moved past it, but as they kind of look around and see nothing on the actual pillars, you're on the other side and don't feel affected by it anymore.
Yeah, it seems fine, guys. Just walk through it. It's horrifying with the monkeys howling inside your head, but when you're past it, it's fine.
So while they move through, um, just kind of on your own, you're going to notice that there is one of these plaques, like what Jarek was looking for, where you can see the cuneiform written in above the central doorway that is effectively just north of you right now. You can see that there is writing on that. Other than that, there's 5 archways making these 5 little entrances. And yeah, I think that's where you guys would kind of sit as they make their way through that screaming monkey entryway.
I think we'll try to translate that text.
So
Yeah, Jarek's with him.
as you take some time to translate the text, you all will be able to read, "Better to be Wongo's friend than his enemy."
I fully agree with that. What can we see through the colonnades as we look forward? Are they the screening for? Is it like a um, screening on an interior hallway, or they each go down a different hall into the building? Is there any kind of a choice between the 5 north portals?
So I think you all can see spider webs kind of filling the portals to the east and west. I think they're kind of filled on each of the entryways. And I think right now you could enter any of the 5. The central one where Terran saw the entryway, or that little entry message, does not have spider webs kind of blocking it. So that's kind of like the initial looking down into them without going into them. He can basically see up towards webs in the 2 to the west of you, to the left. In the 2 to the right, he can see up to kind of the shadow of webs. Straight ahead beyond that message, he can see hallway.
So it looks like we're supposed to just enter through the kind of obvious central way. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd rather not have to wading through webs if I can help it.
Yeah, no, cobwebs can be annoying.
So you can move forward down this way. Eventually, Taryn, let me get a perception check for me. So you're going to eventually get to the point where, kind of slowly moving through this, you're going to kind of pop open into view of this great big gigantic being that's kind of looking down at you. And you're just gonna notice him just kind of a moment, this large monkey statue that you're kind of like just standing right up in front of, um, without anything to kind of reflect the light off of. You just kind of see this massive statue. But as you start to investigate your immediate surroundings, there's more to the room around this creature to the east and to the west, as well as you can start to see that there are four heads along the walls of this room. And you can see that there is a lion's head, a boar's head, a zebra head, and a vulture head.
Can you say again a lion, a vulture, and what was the other one?
Boar and zebra.
Which one of those is the most likely to be his friend, huh?
Yeah, I was just trying to think if we heard from like Eku, if any of the stories that Eku related to us mentioned creature as a friend of Wongo. I was gonna look back through my notes, but it jumps out at me immediately.
Is there cuneiform on the walls in this room too?
You guys want to move forward and investigate beyond? Right now, all you can see is that statue and the different figures around the room. You don't really see much of the walls. The ones to the immediate right and left of you, Taryn, don't have any scratches on.
I wonder if there's 4 chutes to get in, and you got to pick the one that's the animal you think is the friend of Wongo. But you guys are already in there, so I guess we're in.
Yeah, but we can check around the room, see if there's like anything behind the giant statue.
So, walking around to reveal the rest of the room, you all do see that there is another larger opening behind the statue of Wongo. You are going to see that there is a large mural depicting the monkey struggling with a snake. And I believe the monkey is fighting with a spear, but no, my bad. It's just tearing into the snake with its own like claws. So there's basically that back wall is the monkey fighting the snake, and as you all kind of like uncover and look a little closer at that, you will see that there is cuneiform along that same back wall, above and below the image. And over the next then few minutes, you all can translate the cuneiform. Yeah, so that one's the recollection of the actual myth. So this is effectively the same story of that night a Sioux monster broke into Uptoa's palace and stole a pail of water for the Omawans. When when the god came running to find it, the Sioux monster hid the pail in the Jakuli's burrow. Uptoa asked the jungle animals where his water was hidden, and Mao the Jakuli was too honest to lie. When Wango the Sioux monster found out how Mao had betrayed him, he vowed to catch the Jakuli and eat him up.
So the Chikuli lives in a burrow. I don't really know what a Jaculi is. Do you guys?
You guys are looking at a giant picture of a monkey attacking a snake. This snake creature is a Jaculi.
Got it. And the snakes live in burrows. I was trying to think who lived in a burrow of these 4 heads. I think if I was this monkey's friend, I'd like want to put my open hand in his, but I don't know who would do that. Are those hands you described, the hands outside, as claws raking? These don't look like that in the image. Is it a different pose? Is this a friendly Sioux monster?
It's attacking the snake. I don't think it would look any more friendly or less friendly.
The statue in the center, or the as opposed to the painting?
Oh, yeah, my bad. The statue in the center, yeah, that just looks like a monkey kind of standing there with its arms like open and prostrate almost.
I think I'd like to examine all the heads really closely, see if there's anything to be learned from them.
That's the picture of the Jaculi inside of Discord. I think it just looks like a regular snake. The head is something Cobra-esque, but I don't think it's meant to be like anything supremely different than a snake.
Cool.
Yeah, I think from this side they're going to look like animal heads in the wall. I don't think there's much for you to spot, but if there's something else you're looking for that I just didn't understand, that's fine. But like investigating the heads, they look like animal heads. Like it would look almost like trophies.
Mm-hmm. Is there any cuneiform on the pedestal that the... Well, I guess this doesn't have a pedestal in it like we're used to seeing, right? There's a Sioux monster on the pedestal.
Yeah, I think inside of this room, the cuneiform that you see are above and below the mural on the back wall.
And it tells the myth.
Perhaps we have to bring, give something to Wongo to show that we're a friend.
Yeah, maybe.
I was imagining, like, who else would want to fight that snake of these animals? It would be the vulture. What if we went up the 4th tunnel on the right that's full of spider webs? You can maybe think about that for next week, unless someone has a better idea. That's the idea that I have.
Yeah, I mean, we're there at a point of this is a good enough stopping spot to pick up next week with how you guys progress forward here.
Yeah, I'm just curious before we stop. There was nothing else on the statue? Like, we investigated, there's nothing more to it than what we see?
Book description here. A 10-foot tall stone statue of an evil looking monkey balances on its tail atop a stone dais in the middle of this 20-foot high chamber. The statue's limbs are splayed with its hands and feet cupped. On the wall behind a sculptured relief shows a monkey-like creature tearing into a giant serpent. Cuneiform inscriptions are carved above and below the relief. 4 masks are painted. I guess that's kind of where the giveaway, I think, is. 4 masks of painted stone protrude from the walls. They depict the heads of a lion, a zebra, a boar, and a vulture. So yeah, as far as things go, without using the actual word of mask, I think the mask is kind of the giveaway there.
Will that vulture head come off as a mask that I can put on?
Well, again, there's stone creatures. Like touching them, there's nothing about them that feels like a mask. I think you guys already are on the right solution. It's not in this room. You need to leave this place and check one of the other ones. That's why I don't think I missed anything in the description of doing it by my description. I think the mask is a giveaway that you're supposed to go to the other locations.
Yeah, I mean they yeah, I think that's probably our first step. We pick back up.
Yeah.
Because like boars don't fight snakes, and I don't know. Do zebras fight snakes? I don't think they do.
I mean, zebras can trample snakes if they come close to them, but
I feel like a vulture would like. Well, I guess vultures eat dead stuff, so maybe it wouldn't attack a live snake. But